So there's a new docu-series streaming now called Taurasi. It's about Diana Taurasi. I don't know what streaming platform it's streaming on because I didn't bother to look because I ain't watching it. I sure as heck don't want to watch and have to listen to her. And plus, with her being such a famous UConn alumnus, they're going to interview Gino, and I guarantee you I don't want to hear that dude talk. So I found it kind of odd they're doing this documentary on Diana Taurasi because, quite frankly, who cares? I know she had a long career, and that's something I want to get into, a long career that nobody watched and has been very, very overrated, which I'll get into here in a second. But as far as this documentary, there's already been some quotes in it where she's talking about not getting paid much, and she's already made some comments about it, some quotes we've seen that just show how delusional she is, how out of touch with reality and economics she is, and just how unlikable and entitled she is. It's pathetic. And the first one I noticed, she said, they both said where she called herself the best player in the world. She's like, here I am at Phoenix, I'm the best player in the world, I'm getting paid less than the janitor in the arena. Well, guess what, Diana? The janitor's job is a lot more important than yours. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You can sit there, maybe even if you were the best player in the world, which I'll get to in a second here, even if you were the best player in the world, you don't deserve any money. The amount of money that people bring in by watching you nowhere near offsets the cost of running a basketball team, paying salaries, buying uniforms, renting buildings, and basically just running a league. That's why the WNBA's lost money all these years. 28, 29 years of the league. You're in there for 20 of them, and they've never made a dime. In fact, they've lost tens of millions a year and have to get bailed out every year. So that's why that happened. The janitor actually has an important job that's needed for that arena. If your job suddenly disappeared and the Phoenix Mercury and women's basketball never existed again, nothing would change. If the janitors quit working, a lot would change. People coming to that arena to watch the Phoenix Suns or the concerts there or the big expos they sometimes have or conventions in those arenas, that would be an issue. So the janitor's job is a lot more important than yours. So I hope the janitor's making more than you. They should do documentaries on them because their story's probably a lot more interesting than yours. Yeah, I said it and I'll say it again. I guarantee you their story's probably a lot more interesting than yours. And the other thing is, what is it with these athletes and picking on the working class common man and woman? J.J. Redick, somebody brought up somebody and forgot what it was, and like, well, he was being guarded by plumbers and firemen. Well, first of all, J.J. Redick, there's not a fireman or firewoman that's ever existed that couldn't kick your ass, son. I'm here to tell you right now. I'm a paramedic. I've worked on the ambulance for a long time. I've worked alongside firemen a lot. And I'm telling you, every single one of them can kick your ass. So you might want to watch what you say. The fact you've made so much money and they're living paycheck to paycheck is an affront. So you might want to be quiet on that one. You've never done anything remotely necessary. They have. If you had to try to go to a burning building, even if you had a family member in there fixing to burn alive, you would turn around and run away quicker than a DUI checkpoint in Durham, North Carolina. You still failed with that one too, but yeah, back to Diana. I mean, that's just saying picking on the janitor. I mean, give me a break. You act like you're something. You're not, okay? And the other thing is, she made this comment about having to go overseas. She said, I had to go to a communist country to get once again she said, I'm the best player in the world and I have to go to a communist country to get paid like a capitalist. All right, that's just so far wrong. You don't even understand. The only reason you're making money in those countries is because of communism and socialism. The only reason you make money in America, any money, because you should have to pay to play, is because of socialism and the government, because the government pays a lot of money in those other countries for women's sports. You think countries like Russia and China, and I don't know what the state of Turkey is, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people go play in the Turkish league, but they could probably use that government money for something a lot more important than women's basketball. These billionaires own these NBA teams that own these WNBA teams on the side could probably, there's a lot of people that could use the tens of millions they spend a year to keep your league afloat on something a lot better than that. So I mean, that's what capitalism is: supply and demand. There's no demand for you, Diana Taurasi, none. So, just absolutely, that burns me. It just burns me to hear her talking like that, and it just got me to thinking. Is she really the greatest in the world? Is she really the best ever? And this kind of goes back to the Caitlin Clark effect. Because I never paid attention to the WNBA until Caitlin arrived, and so, I mean, there's a lot I didn't know about it, and there's things I had heard and just kind of assumed because people were saying them were true, and plus I didn't really care enough to look into it to see if it wasn't true. And one of the things I've been hearing forever is, that Diana is the GOAT of women's basketball, or at least the GOAT of the WNBA era from '97 to present. I can't believe the league's lasted that long, but it is what it is. That she's the GOAT and she's the GOAT, and I thought, okay. But this year there was a game I was watching. It was an Indiana Fever game, so I was actually watching it. Those are the only games I watch. They had one of their Aflac trivia questions, and it was, I can't remember the exact question, but it was like, who are the only two players in WNBA history to have like X number of points and X number of rebounds for their career? It was Diana Taurasi and somebody else. Who was the other person? And the announcers were guessing, and they couldn't quite. They're a little bit split on who it might be, and one of them said they thought it was Tamika Catchings, and it was. So I can't remember what the exact stat was, but it was Diana Taurasi and Tamika Catchings. And that got me to thinking, because I knew Tamika, I know she was, the star of the Indiana Fever's only championship in 2012. I know that since she retired in 2016, the Fever have not been back to the playoffs until last year when a girl from Iowa came by. I knew that, the organization had struggled a lot, and I knew she'd won a lot of Defensive Player of the Years. That's one thing I noticed when they, talk about her on a telecast, or especially the Indiana telecast, the local ones where they might show her number retired in the rafters. They'd talk about all the Defensive Player of the Year she won. One group even mentioned renaming the award after her. I got to thinking, wow, I wonder if the disparity is really there between Diana and the rest of the league. I know she's like the leading scorer, but I also know she's played for a long time. So I got to looking and I actually did some research here, and you're not going to believe this, but I don't think Diana Taurasi is even top 5 in the WNBA era alone. This isn't even counting, the pre-WNBA era. People like Cheryl Miller and Nancy Lieberman and people like that. So just a comparison that I did, just a little rabbit hole and a little bit of research I did that literally took like 15 to 20 minutes, disproved a lot of this, her being the best player in the world stuff. First of all, just a comparison between her and Tamika Catchings. So Diana Taurasi played for 20 seasons in the WNBA from 2004 to 2024, which is actually 21 seasons, but she didn't play 2015. Even though the Mercury had just won a championship, she sat out that season from the WNBA so she could spend all that time playing overseas for like $1.5 million or something. Good for her, but, it is what it is. So she played 20 total seasons. And Tamika Catchings played 15 seasons from 2002 to 2016, all with the Indiana Fever. And she had to miss her first season. That was going to be her first season. She missed because she blew out her knee playing for Tennessee. She won a championship with Tennessee and missed that first year, but then came back and, had just had an amazing career. And looking at the numbers, I'm like, I don't see how you can say Diana Taurasi was better than Tamika Catchings. So like I said, just looking at these numbers here, Diana in 20 seasons was an 11-time All-Star, and in 15 seasons, Tamika Catchings was a 10-time All-Star. Now, All-Star teams in the WNBA is a little bit not the best way to look at things, even though that would actually favor Tamika because less seasons and almost the same number, because they used to not play All-Star games during Olympic years. And then in the last 2 Olympic years of 2021, because the Japan ones were pushed back from COVID, and 2024, that it was, the Team USA versus the rest of the WNBA All-Stars that didn't make it. So Diana got 2 All-Star selections in 2021 and 2024 that she wouldn't have got otherwise, and I'll talk about that too. So I'll look at other things too. Diana Taurasi has a league MVP, and Tamika Catchings has 1 league MVP. So they each have 1 league MVP. Now, this is where the difference really starts to become stark. In 20 seasons, Diana Taurasi was top 5 in MVP voting 8 times, whereas Tamika in her 15 seasons was top 5 in MVP voting 10 times. So 2/3 of her seasons, Tamika Catchings was voted one of the 5 best players in the league, one of the 5 most valuable players in the league, whereas Diana only 8 times in 20 seasons. What is that? equate out to 40% versus 66%. That's just off the top of my head. I ain't proud of myself. The other one is, all WNBA teams. Diana made 10 all WNBA first teams, whereas Tamika only made 7. But again, you're talking about less seasons. So in half of Diana Taurasi's seasons, she made the first team all WNBA, and in just under half of them, Tamika Catchings made the first team. So it's kind of even. Diana does have a slight edge there. Diana also made 4 second team, and Tamika Catchings made 5 second teams. So Diana has 14 all WNBA teams in 20 seasons, while Tamika Catchings has 12 in 15 seasons. So she was one of the 10 best players more often than Diana. But that's where the comparison really ends, because when it comes to defensive accolades, Diana has none. Obviously, no defensive player of the year, but she never even made a first or second team all defensive team. Tamika Catchings. Now, one thing you have to know about the all defensive team, the WNBA didn't start doing that until 2005. So the first 3 seasons of Tamika Catchings' career, when I think she won her first 2 Defensive Players of the Year, she won 5 Defensive Player of the Year awards, spread out pretty evenly throughout her career. And 2 of them, I think, were before that. So she would have probably made it her first 3 seasons, but we can't prove that, despite the Defensive Player of the Year. But so Diana Taurasi never received a single defensive award or acknowledgement of any kind. Tamika Catchings won 5 Defensive Player of the Years as a record, but she also had 6 runner-up finishes in the Defensive Player of the Year voting. So in 11 of her 15 seasons, she was voted one of the 2, either the first or the second best defender in the league. And she also had an additional top 5 finish. So in 12 of her 15 seasons, she was one of the 5 best defenders in the league. And in the 12 seasons of her career where they actually had a WNBA all-defensive team, she made the first team all-defense 10 times, and 2 times she made the second team. So as far as I know, I think she's the only player in WNBA history to have double digits in all NBA team first or second voting and all defensive team first or second voting. I might be wrong about that, but I mean, when you compare the 2 sides of the court, which by the way, the defensive side is just as important. That's why I always, have put a premium when I'm talking about NBA players on the best 2-way players like Michael and Hakeem and Kobe. People who could score well and defend well at a very high level. Tim Duncan, obviously, Kevin Garnett, people like them. Those are the people that I really have the most respect for. So, in my opinion, it's not even close. Tamika's much better than Diana. Diana has better cumulative stats from playing longer. She's basically LeBron James. Overhyped, overrated legacy based on longevity. A lot of talent, good, but, some people consider them the best when they're not top 5, neither of them. And Tamika Catchings, she has a good case for the GOAT. You talk about what she got in there in just 15 seasons. That's good. And now Diana Taurasi was a 5-time scoring champion, which is impressive. I have to give her due on that one. She's good. She is one of the best, but I don't think she's one of the 5 best. Tamika Catchings had won the steals title 8 times. Over half of her seasons, she had more steals than anyone else, which is crazy. But the other thing you have to look at when it comes to Diana and Tamika is, Diana won 3 championships and 2 finals MVPs. Tamika won the 1 championship and was the finals MVP there. She made 2 other finals and lost in Game 5. But she was really outmatched both times, or really all 3 times. Because if you compare their careers, Diana Taurasi had a teammate that made the All-Star team 23 times, whereas Tamika only had 11. Even with the lesser seasons, that's a much better average for Diana as far as having an All-Star teammate. Also, as far as Olympians, 6 times during an Olympic year, Diana had a teammate on her team that had 6 total teammates over those Olympic years that was also an Olympian. Tamika never had any. Tamika also never had somebody on her team that at the time also made was also first team all WNBA that year, whereas Diana had 7. Diana also had 4 players that made the second team all WNBA, whereas Tamika only had 2 second team all WNBA for her entire career. So she did a lot more. The fact she won a championship with that says a lot. She really had to carry that team, and how she got them to a championship. I mean, that 2012 championship team for the Indiana Fever had Stephanie White as an assistant coach. She won a championship with Stephanie White on the coaching staff. If that doesn't make you the GOAT, I don't know what does. Ugh. So, I mean, much more help, much better people around her. The Fever organization has just not been good. They've never been a well-run organization at all. They could have done a lot more. And they probably kind of kept Tamika back from winning more championships, or in fact, I know they did. But so yeah, I don't see how Diana can call herself the best in the world when she's never even better than Tamika. But that got me to thinking too: is there anybody else who's even better than Diana as well? And I came across quite a few names. Now I found these. I just went to the top 25 at 25 for the WNBA, as well as some people that I know that are playing now that I feel have already surpassed her. That was two of them. But I came across 5 people that have already retired that were on the top 25 at the 25th anniversary of the WNBA in 2021 that, to me, are definitely have had better careers than Diana Taurasi. Starting off with Cynthia Cooper. Now, the thing you have to know about Cynthia Cooper, she was 34 years old in 1997. I think she was born the same year as Michael Jordan, if I'm not mistaken. 63. I could be wrong about that, if my math is right. So she was already well past her physical prime, but when the WNBA started, Houston selected her in the I guess new league expansion draft. But Cheryl Swoops was their big prize. They thought she was going to be the heart and soul of that team. And in fairness to Cheryl, who I do not like, she did a good job. But Cynthia Cooper was definitely the leader of that team. She won the first, they won the first 4 WNBA championships, but Cynthia Cooper's the one who won the Finals MVP all 4 years. Cheryl Swoops never won the Finals MVP. Cynthia Cooper won the first 2 WNBA MVPs, and she also was the scoring champion the first 3 years of the WNBA. And like I said, defense, they didn't have all defensive teams back then, so who knows what she would have done. But to do, I mean, even when you take away everything else she did in her career, she was a part of the 1983 and 1984 NCAA championships with USC and Cheryl Miller. And Cynthia just had those 4 years in the WNBA. She came back on when the year she turned 40 in 2003. That didn't go so well, but you look at those 4 years. I mean, you've got to, hold the crown above her head. You have to wonder what she could have done if she could have, if the WNBA would have started 10 years earlier. They would have blown a lot more money, but, we could have seen what she could have done. So she's somebody I definitely have. And Cheryl Swoops I also have above Diana. I hate admitting that, but she's a 3-time MVP, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. She never won a Finals MVP, but she was the MVP in one of their championship seasons and was there. So I got to put her ahead because she did more defensively and actually won more offensive awards. The other one I came across is Sylvia Fowles. Now, she played from 2008 to 2022. She played with Chicago until 2014, then joined the Minnesota Lynx for the rest of her career. The Minnesota Lynx had won 2 championships before Sylvia Fowles got there. She joined in 2015, and they won 2 more championships, and she won the Finals MVP both times. I don't know if this ever happened in the NBA before, where somebody joined a multi-time champion team and immediately became its centerpiece, just took over from everybody else that had won the other championships. But she won 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, as well as a league MVP in 2017 with those 2 Finals MVPs. 2 for 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards came with Minnesota, and she made the All-WNBA first or second team 8 times, and 8 times made the All-WNBA first team All-Defense, along with 3 second team All-Defensive. And she also led the league in blocks twice and rebounds 3 times. So I don't see how you can argue that Diana Taurasi is better than her. And like I said, her Defensive Player of the Years are 10 years apart from the first one to the 4th one. So we're not talking about just a little peak here. Another one, somebody I'd never heard of, Lauren Jackson. She's from Australia. Been playing professional in Australia from 1999 and still's playing there some, I think. But she played in the WNBA from 2001 to 2012. Won 2 championships with Seattle, won the Finals MVP in one of them. She won 3 league MVPs, 3 of them. So that's 2 more than Diana. And also won a Defensive Player in the Year in 2007. She was 7 times named to the WNBA All-First Team and also made 5 WNBA first or second All-Defensive Teams. And again, you have to remember she started in 2001. Those All-Defensive Teams didn't start to 2005. So, who knows what she would have done. She won the scoring championship 3 times, just 2 less than Diana and a lot less seasons in the WNBA, and also won the rebounding title once. And like I said, she won 7 championships in Australia, 4 while she was in the WNBA. I know it shouldn't really matter for that, but fun fact about her, in addition to her championships she won in Australia and America, she also won championships in Spain, Russia, and Korea. Um, that's 5 different countries. Has anybody else won championships in 5 different countries? I mean, if they have, let me know. That's kind of interesting. But not only she won championships in 5 different countries, she's won championships in all 4 hemispheres: the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere with Australia, and also she won in the Eastern Hemisphere with Russia and Korea, and won in the Western Hemisphere in America and Australia. And I gotta be honest, Spain, I'm not sure if it's in the Eastern or the Western Hemisphere officially. I know officially it's a Western country, a Western style country, but I think it's west of England, where, if I'm not mistaken, the Prime Meridian runs through. But either way, you get my point. She's definitely won a championship in all 4 hemispheres in 5 different countries. That's pretty cool. So, but yeah, I mean, her WNBA career: 3 MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, 3 scoring titles, a rebound title, 2 championships, a Finals MVP. You got to give her. I got her ahead of Diana, so that's 5. Tamika, Cynthia, Cheryl, Sylvia, and Lauren Jackson. And also, you can't forget about Lisa Leslie. She, I think, was out of college about 2 or 3 years before the WNBA started, but she played with LA from 1997 to 2009, won 2 championships, and won the Finals MVP both times. She's a 3-time league MVP and a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. She made the All WNBA team 8 times, the second team 4 times, and also made the All Defensive first or second team 4 times. And again, those leagues, those designations didn't exist until after from 2005. So basically, the last 4 years of her career were the only time she's eligible for it. So who knows how many she would have had were it. Before that, she also led the league in blocks twice and rebounds 3 times. So domination, a lot more dominant than Diana in a slightly shorter amount of time. Another one, Candace Parker. She won the league MVP twice, won Defensive Player of the Year, made the All NBA team 10 times, and also made the All Defensive team twice, which isn't a lot, but she did get a Defensive Player of the Year, which is more than Diana can say. And she also had 3 rebounding titles and 2 blocked. Had the most blocks twice. So again, just a lot more dominant both sides of the ball than Diana. So that's just the people I found off of the WNBA's top 25 team at 25 years. And 2 people that didn't, well, actually one that did make the team and one that didn't, because they're a little bit newer and still playing. Brianna Stewart, so that's, to me, the best UConn player in the league. She's only played this is only her 10th season. She's won 2 MVPs, 3 championships. She has made the All WNBA first team 6 times, which might go to 7 this year. She also made the first team All Defense 3 times and the second team All Defense 3 times. So in 6 of her 10 seasons, she's made the first team All WNBA and or a first or second All Defensive team, which is more than Diana could say. So I think Brianna Stewart's already passed her. And the other one, hurts my heart to talk about this one, but I think A'ja Wilson's done passed her pretty easily. Passed her in a lot of areas, including the one I never thought anybody would pass Diana in, which is unlikability. So congrats to A'ja on that one. But Asia's won 3 MVPs, 2 Defensive Player of the Years, been named All WNBA first team 4 times, will most certainly be 5 times at the end of this season. All Defense 3 times, will certainly be 4 by the end of it, and led the league in blocks 4 times. And I don't know if she's on pace for that again this year, but I don't know. But so, like I said, she's passed her offensively, defensively, and in unlikability. So I didn't think that could happen. So whatever that number is, Diana to me is barely a top 10 just of the WNBA era. And like I say, you start throwing in some of the legends from the past prior to the WNBA who might have played in the WNBA, but well after they were washed, like when Nancy Lieberman and Cheryl Miller. I don't know if she ever tried to play in the league or not. I know she coached in it, but so just complete delusion on her part. She's not the greatest. She's not even one of the top 5 best. She's barely top 10, and she actually made a lot more money than she deserves to make. She owes socialism and communism a lot when it comes to her things. So there's my thing on that. With Mercury playing the Fever tonight, I figured I'd just take the opportunity to take some shots at Diana. So I don't know how it's going to go tonight, but if Diana's there, I hope she's not having a good night. I don't wish any bad on her, but I just hope she's there promoting her thing. People call her out, and she realizes that her claims of being underpaid are not being taken seriously. That's the one thing I hope. I hope that she understands that, and otherwise has a very happy life outside of that. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you later.